there, welcome to Hiker Homily number 34 for the week of September 10th, 2018. And this one is a topic I've been thinking about doing for quite a while, but I gotta be honest, I've actually kind of avoided it because it is such a freaking crazy topic when it comes to splitting people and just driving both sides to these extreme sides on the topic that it's just crazy. But it's something that needs to be talked about. There are certain topics in the hiking community that just, man, it's like kicking over a freaking fire anthill. People go bananas and like start running around and freaking out, but they have to be talked about. And so this week I'm talking about guns on the trail. So guns on the trail. What's that going to look like? I don't think it's going to be that bad. I'm just, wow. That's one way to clear a path. No, seriously though. Guns on the trail. Like I said, it polarizes the hiking community so fast. I have seen relatively friendly, benign media groups, social media groups that are hiking, hiking-centric, hiking-themed, turn into just ridiculous knockdown, drag-out, insult-flinging crap fests in seconds at the mention of something like guns on the trail. So, here's a little bit before we get into the whole thing, just so you know. This is not an advocation or an anti-thing for the Second Amendment, because that's completely irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, this country does have the Second Amendment, and so currently, however you want to interpret it, the fact is, it is there, it's a thing, and so it's irrelevant to debate whether or not certain parts you can, okay, because you can. This is not going to be any kind of an anti-this or a pro-that. Because as I am in many of these types of crazy things, subjects, I am in that what I consider to be logical middle ground. Because it has been my experience in life that most of the time, not always, most of the time, however, the solution to things is right in the middle somewhere, where common sense tends to kind of settle and sit. It's not usually out on either side of the maniac fringe where they're completely, fanatically, almost religiously for or against something. That's not usually where the answer is. It's not usually out there on either side, either edge of the situation. It's usually somewhere closer to center, where the common sense is, and that's where I think I sit with the whole gun thing. And so, also, just so you know, just so there's background, I am not some kind of pro-gun nut. I'm not going to sit here and say that they are the answer to everything and things like that. In fact, I think that's quite the contrary, but I am also going to say that I am also not one of those people, and this is how I drive both sides crazy, that just thinks that there's just no use for them whatsoever, and they should be banned completely and not even touched, and they're all melted down and turned into some kind of big peace statue. Neither one of those is a viable solution, I don't think. That's my opinion. I am a gun owner. I do own guns. For a while, I also had a valid California concealed weapons permit and carried concealed. So that's my background. But before some of you staunch anti-gun, you're way over on one side of the things, just like, oh, I'm turning this off and leaving, you may be surprised at my stance. Because like I said, my stance is somewhere right in the common sense middle. So here we go. And like I said, please keep in mind, if this does generate comments, usually because my channel's small, I don't have that, but you never know where these videos end up on big topics. Like some of the more controversial topics, sometimes they end up in places that you don't get and things like that. So we're not debating the Second Amendment here because it is a thing. So whether you like it or whether you think it is some kind of God-given whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay? It is a thing. It's currently here. So there it is. So it doesn't do any good to debate it or not. And we're not going to debate how to translate it. Oh, the forefathers didn't mean these kinds of guns. They only meant that. We're not. That's also a moot debate for this kind of discussion for hiking and things like that. The very specific topic is guns on the trail. And here's my stance that I hope it's just like when I covered dogs on the trail and things like that. Again, it's common sense. It is a personal choice. That's how easy this situation is, okay? But then again, it's not that easy because what in life really is. As far as I'm concerned, if a person wants to carry a gun on the trail, they may do so where it is currently legal. And again, we are not going to debate laws because it's moot to do so, okay? If they suddenly passed, I'm not one of those ones where I disagree with the law and so I'm automatically going to break it and ignore it until they change it. No, we have a system in place that if you really decide that this law is just, I just don't like this law, I'm going to follow it because it's the law, but I'm going to advocate to change it or nullify it or whatever officially. Let's get rid of this law. Unless, of course, it's something completely ridiculous. Like if they passed a law all of a sudden tomorrow that says it's the law that while you're driving down the road, if you happen to see somebody with a blue shirt, you must, by law, run them over. Okay, now we're getting into some crazy territory. No, I'm not going to do that. I am going to break that law because, it's a violation of rights and morals and things like that. But even if I were anti-gun, I'm not going to scream at somebody who is legally carrying a gun because that's their legal right. So that's where I sit with it, is where it is legal. If someone really wants to carry a gun, okay, carry a gun. Here's where the problem lies, though. And it usually lies in the folks that are way out on the edges, okay? That there are going to be folks on one side of the situation who that's not good enough. I don't like guns. I don't want guns anywhere near me because I either am afraid of them or whatever the reason is, I just don't like guns. And so even though this person is perfectly legally able to carry a gun in this particular part of the trail, I disagree with it, and so I'm going to get in their face about it. Now we have a problem, okay? Or, on the other side of the spectrum, it is illegal to carry this gun here. The government, it's government land, it's a federal park or something or other, and they have slated it as a no weapon zone. You can't carry guns here. F them. The man can't tell me what to do. I'm going to carry my gun anyway. Now we're having a problem. Once again, we've bumped our heads, and there's issues and things like that. So that's where we run into stuff. Is where people are so pushed. So again, I'm not going to sit here on a video that I'm going to post publicly and advocate breaking the law because that's absolutely stupid. It's not just because of any kind of liability issues. It's because I disagree with that. Okay, so where it is legal, if you want to carry a gun and you're able to legally, okay, go ahead. But what I do want to tell people who do that is, and I know I'm preaching to deaf ears when it comes to the folks that are out there on the fanatical side, okay? And there are plenty of them out there and things like that. If you're going to do something, anything, whether it's carrying a gun or a lot of other things, okay, please examine the real reasons why you're doing it. And that should tell you whether it's a good idea or not, regardless of if it's legal. Because it's legal to do a lot of things. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea to do them all the time in certain places. Okay, it's perfectly legal for me to wear a big fluffy coat and go walking out into the desert. Is it a smart thing to do? No, it's not. The circumstances don't really warrant it. But I want to wear this coat because it makes me look cool, because I feel awesome in it. Okay, but I'm also risking myself and maybe anybody else who has to come rescue me by doing something dumb like that, okay? So the reasons why you're doing stuff, it really does matter. So, are you carrying that gun because it is a legitimate tool that you feel, may be part of the other tools that you carry with you when hiking that may be of assistance to you in certain situations, and you know how to use that tool properly, and you understand when the tool is useful and when it's not, we don't need to have it out and things like that? Awesome. You're probably responsible a gun owner and probably won't have any issue on the trail. Are you carrying that gun because you think it makes you a badass, or because you are so terrified inside of what's out there, or there's other people on the trail and that'll keep me from being a victim? Nobody's going to victimize me. Now, that may sound like exaggeration, but I'm telling you right now, I am not kidding, seen these exact arguments. There are people out there, when they get online, who talk about carrying a gun on a trail like it turns them into some kind of armored, invincible god that, out there on the trail, nobody's going to pick on me. Where are you hiking that you're having these issues, okay? That was one of my first inclinations when I read stuff like that. And there's people out there who type things like that. It's like, I have been hiking since I was like 15 years old and stuff like that. And even when I was a concealed weapons permit holder and stuff like that, I never felt a need to carry a gun on a trail. And that's just how it is for me. And that's my personal choice. I just didn't feel like I ever needed one. I've never been in a situation. And I know the old anecdote, you'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Yeah, in some cases that's true and stuff like that, but thus far, any type of gun that would help me against certain things in the wilderness, like bears, because a lot of people always bring that up. Oh, bears and mountain lions and da-da-da-da-da-da. The type of gun you'd need to bring a bear down, or to really do anything besides just piss a bear off, you are not going to be able to carry hiking. It's going to be too heavy and prohibitive to carry it and the ammunition for it. Okay? So, if you're carrying this little pistol on your hip because of bears, not quite a good reason. Or, mountain lions. Yeah, a pistol could bring a mountain lion down. The only thing is in most cases, if a mountain lion wants to get at you, you're not going to know about it until he's sinking his teeth or claws into you. They're an apex predator, and they're an ambush predator. If you see one, it's because they are not hunting, or they wanted you to see them to let you know, I'm here, don't mess with me. Okay? And in that case, you don't just draw and just start shooting. That's just not, But there's people out there who act that way. If they see a mountain lion 50 yards away looking at them, they'll just draw and start blazing away into the woods because, it's a threat. No, it's not. It's not a threat. It's a wild animal, and you're in its habitat, and it's doing its thing. Keep an eye on that wild animal. But if that wild animal, especially if it's a mountain lion, wanted to get you, you wouldn't have seen it 50 yards away. You would have seen it when it's right here, leaping at you. And by then, it's too late to draw your gun. It's not going to do any good. There's a lot of Hollywood notions out there that, you're just going to be able to, hold it off and all. Yeah, whatever. So that's the big thing. At the core, it's so simple and yet so complex. Because, yes, if it is legal, then it's your choice. But at the same time, please do examine why you think you need to have that. And there it is right there. Like I said, if you feel that particular thing is such a need, you need to examine why. What are you so afraid of? What do you think is going on out there? Because it's a lot of the folks online. It's mostly online you see these kinds of arguments and stuff like that. And some of the people who are so fanatically for it, when you start looking at them or asking them little simple clarification questions, it's very clear that they're on a hiking group, but they don't hike that much. And they have this vision in their head that hiking is like the Wild West. You're just out there, and there's all these people that are dangerous. And it's like, I don't think you really know who the hiker crowd is, because online they get a little rambunctious. They toss crap at each other on stuff like that, typing and stuff like that. But out on the trail, for the most part, we're all just like, hey, how's it going? And it's very mellow, and most hikers, because that's the other thing, too, is when we're talking about the big, long trails, Pacific Crest Trail, Continental Divide Trail, Appalachian Trail, all those big through hikes and stuff like that, the more dangerous parts of the trail are the ones that start turning toward town. The closer you get to civilization, that's where you get more danger. And in most cases, that's where you can't carry your gun anymore. Most towns and cities have ordinances where you're not supposed to be, some of them you can carry your gun on your hip and stuff like that. But for the most part, most of them, you're not supposed to be carrying it around. It's legal for you to own, but you can't carry it concealed without a proper permit. And you can't carry it into this area. You can't. And so it's just, that's the other thing with that kind of thing is not only is it added weight when you're hiking, but then you have all these issues when you're through hiking and you have to get out of the wilderness area where, yeah, you can just go ahead and carry it. It's go ahead and stuff like that. And you go into a small municipality. Well, now what are you going to do with it? You can't keep it in your backpack hidden because that's a concealed weapon. You're breaking the law at that point unless you have a CCW. And then in America, it depends on what state your CCW comes from to see if it's even accepted. If you're hiking in California and have a CCW from, I don't know, make up a state over here in the east and stuff like that, and it's a good chance that California isn't going to, and I know there are things shifting there. I know there's talk of a federal CCW and all that kind of thing. And for those of you who don't know, CCW is the concealed weapons. It's a short version of the concealed weapons permit. So it just comes with so many issues. And so that's the kind of thing I was, trying to get out there. Is it's kind of a simple thing. Yes, it is legal to carry them on some parts of trails, certain areas, and so if you really feel like you need to, then I guess go ahead, because there's no law that says you can't at that time, that area. But there are other parts of the trail where, yeah, there are laws that say you can't, so don't. And right there, again, we get rankled. There's going to be people on one side that are pissed off that I don't care if it's legal here. I don't want people carrying guns. That's, even though it's their business, it could endanger me, and I'm afraid of it, and so, no. I'm going to start a problem, even though they're doing it legally, okay? And on the other side, I don't give a shit if this little town has said it's illegal. I'm carrying my gun because I'm Barney Badass, and,
What are you doing?
Gun drawing practice. 10 minutes every day.
Yeah, that guy. And so I'm going to do it anyway and stuff. And that's where we start running into issues, is the I'm going to do it anyway crowd. I'm going to get in that person's face even though they're not breaking the law. I'm going to go ahead and do this because I don't agree with the law right now. It's blah, blah, blah. And I have interpreted the Second Amendment to mean I can flip the bird to everybody and carry them everywhere in the world. And, it's just where we run into issues and stuff. So anyway, that's my take on it, is where it's legal. If you really want to, go ahead. Me personally, as a hiker, it's just added weight that I've never seen a need for, and so I have never carried one on the trail and probably never will. If I really need to defend myself against someone else, I myself personally, again, I can only make decisions for me, not for other people. I myself personally feel like I can adequately defend myself. I know how to fight. I've been in fights before. I can use other things besides guns to defend myself and things like that. And so I've just never felt a need to have guns on the trail. They're added weight. They're just, So here we go. If anyone has a comment on that, please keep it civil. If you're out there on either one of the far fringes and you're just going to be an a-hole about it, I will shut comments down on whatever medium so fast you will not believe it. And you can go ahead and scream freedom of speech if you want, but F you. Freedom of speech, for those of you who don't know, protects you from the government telling you to shut up. It doesn't protect you from me or anyone else telling you to shut up, so get over it. Because if you're just being an a-hole about it and pushing your opinion, no matter what side your opinion's on, and you're just going to push it like an a-hole, I will shut it down. But I don't expect too much trouble because, again, it's a little tiny channel. It's not that big of a deal. But if there's anybody out there who does have comments on it, common sense comments, I invite them, as usual, at hikingforhealthca@gmail.com, or leave a comment below the video, or on Instagram or my Facebook page, also Hiking for Health CA. Guns on the trail. It's a personal choice, and there are places where that is legal. There are places where it's illegal, and so when that's the only time it doesn't become a personal choice, as far as I'm concerned. And your own personal how you obey the laws and stuff, that's on you, depending on how you want to do it. But if you want to do it in places where it's legal, like I said, it's the same stance I had on dogs on the trail. If it's legal, then go ahead if you really want to, as long as you are doing it for the right reasons and you have thought about it and you are a good owner as far as it goes. You understand the safety of other hikers is paramount and things like that. And in places where it's not allowed, then don't do it, please. Be respectful. It's just, I'm sorry, that's just how it is. The law is there, and follow it. You don't get to have your way all the time. That's just not how life works. So there you go. I don't know if I've opened up a can of worms or if this is just going to be nice and quietly kind of shuffled off because it's a small channel. We'll see. But there it is, Guns on the Trail. That's Hiker Homily number 34 for the week of September 10th, 2018. And I guess I will see you all next week.